David Dobrik should be canceled. But first, here's some background on Dobrik and his now called Vlog Squad. Dobrik, like many other members of the Vlog Squad, started out on a platform called Vine. Basically, in 2015, a lot of Viners like David and other Vlog Squad members would jump from Vine to YouTube, as Vine was only a 6-second video platform site, as where YouTube allowed for much longer videos and more monetization. So Dobrik starts uploading, and uploading more, and more, and more. Dobrik quickly finds out that the key to success is collaboration with other YouTubers and, of course, clickbait. Within a year of consistent uploading, David began to attract millions of viewers per video. David Dobrik makes vlog-style videos. Basically a blog, but in video form. His videos were usually jam-packed with pranks, stunts, skits, and celebrity cameos. Dobrik's vlogs were typically viewed by teenagers and college-age students or young adults. I believe that Dobrik's vlogs were wildly successful because they were consistent, fast, full of action, they were fun, and they made you feel like you were there. Here are some of the most reoccurring Vlog Squad members: Jason Nash, Toddy Smith, Corinna Kopf, Scotty Sire, Gabby Hanna, Josh Peck, Liza Koshy, Zayn Hijazi, Jeff Wittick. What makes these people important is not who they are, but what they represent. They're just playing a character. Dobrik hits his peak at 18 million followers in 2019, and to this day still holds about 17.5 of them. But Dobrik's last upload was almost 2 years ago. Many might wonder why an ultra-successful YouTuber like Dobrik would just stop. I'm going to break down what happened, what's happening, and why. First, let's discuss my claim. What does it mean to be canceled? For my paper and my claim, I will be using Joseph Ching Velasco's definition as cancel culture is a form of public shaming initiated on social media to deprive someone of their usual clout or attention with the aim of making public discourse more diffused and less monopolized by those in positions of privilege. Dobrik has a couple cancelable offenses under his belt. The three I'm going to focus on are his utilization and shaming and manipulating members of the Vlog Squad, as well as other people in his videos, involvement in sexual assault, and, as of late, involvement in a lawsuit. In order to better understand these cases in the context of our class, I will be connecting each case in a way to a class resource, a class discussion, or an academic resource. Let's begin with shame. I'll show an example of Dobrik's vlogs, and it highlights ultimately the kind of style of video and the fake bets that he would make with his so-called friends at the time, and ultimately what accumulated a lot of views for him.
Pretty intense. It's fucking quick, right? Basically, we're going to be playing a trivia game. For every question he gets right, he makes $30. But for every question he gets wrong, he gets shot with a paintball gun. Just take a guess.
I really don't know.
1 through 10.
I feel like it's none of them.
What?
5,
Wait.
4,
Pick a number.
3, 13, 2.
So this is a typical example of a David Dobrik vlog where basically he makes a bet where he has nothing to lose because he's already rich, and he bets his friends who are desperate, and ultimately they get hit with a paintball gun. Lorenzo Maria Rato Vaquer's paper on shame on social media platforms and existential analysis helped cover this topic really well. Vaquer's paper had a lot of interesting talking points, but what I found most interesting was his comparison of shame on social media to that of FOMO, or fear of missing out. Okay, this is an important side note. David Dobrik is a multi-millionaire and has made a lot of that money on YouTube on the backs of a lot of the Vlog Squad members and other reoccurring characters, and those members and other characters were never fully compensated for their work. They were compensated if it was a bet that they accomplished or a dare that they did for the video, but they were never actually consistently compensated on a regular basis as an employee. So the person in that vlog clip that was getting shot with a paintball gun, he's important. His name was Jonah. And he was literally nicknamed Jonah because they thought he looked like Jonah Hill. His real name is Nick. Nick was constantly getting made fun of, and he was the butt of every joke. But with people doing anything to get on the vlogs and anything to make a little money, it became a competition. Individuals often feel excluded, overlooked, or insignificant, especially when there's a continuous stream of highlights that foster a fear of missing out on an experience that someone else is getting and maybe you aren't. With a lot of clout and internet status on the line, Dobrik was able to manipulate his vlog squad, or what he called his friends at the time, into thinking that they were always missing out on something when they weren't exactly. Rato Vicare's paper carefully identifies the role of FOMO on social media and shame. Dobrik specifically utilizes fear of missing out as a way to recruit Vlog Squad members and other people to perform various tasks and entertaining bits on his video. Next, I am going to discuss Gia Tolentino's The Eye in the Internet. Specifically how the internet cheapens our understanding of solidarity, and specifically how Dobrik does that to his audience. Tolentino specifically describes 5 intersecting problems with the internet. The one I'm focusing on is how it cheapens our understanding of solidarity. With Dobrik's involvement in a sexual assault case, a lot has changed. Specifically in regards to how it cheapens our understanding of solidarity, David Dobrik has built a massive fan base. Almost 18 million people are fans and still are fans of him, or at least subscribe to him. So what I'm looking at is how David Dobrik manipulated not only members of the Vlog Squad, but his fans as well, into believing what he portrayed himself to be versus what he soon reveals himself to be. Dobrik is not only involved with the case, but is quite literally filming the whole interaction, and the fact that these 2 women were underage at the time makes this even more disgusting. Ultimately, Tolentino is arguing that our perception of solidarity and community online has been totally skewed due to the internet and the advancement of it on social media, specifically arguing online performance is mostly arrested in the nebulous realm of sentiment through an unbroken stream of hearts and likes and eyeballs aggregated in numbers attached to your name. Dobrik quite literally proved Tolentino's point here by showing that in an online space, it's really hard to hold community and understand what solidarity means as far as being a group online. As soon as the one thing that unites you crumbles, what does your community become? Lastly, I want to point your attention towards the accident. I've attached the clip, but basically David Dobrik was swinging around Jeff Wittick on a crane as a kind of a joke, as a stunt for the vlog, and he gets seriously injured. So a lot of the people here are showing urgency, they are showing concern, but what comes to follow from David Dobrik shows that he really wasn't sorry about the situation at all. So directly after the accident, Jeff and David are on decent terms. Jeff obviously is a little pissed off. He almost lost an eyeball, almost went blind, but Dobrik is there at the hospital with him. He's supporting him. But as soon as Dobrik realizes that Jeff is alive and conscious, he changes his tone. He basically starts asking for favors. He asks to send over some video clips. He asks him to sign some stuff. He asks him to help him edit a video, like all these things as he's in the hospital. Which now brings out the idea of an imagined audience. The Marwick and Boyd texts describe that the audience is often imagined and constructed by an individual in order to present themselves appropriately, based on technological affordances and immediate social context. Studies of identity presentation on profile-based sites, such as social networking sites and personal ads, have demonstrated that profile owners are attentive to audience. Dobrik was very attentive to his audience, and he knew who they were for a very long time, but this lapse in judgment, or more of a stain in character, represents that Dobrik himself was genuinely just not a good person and lacked a lot of good judgment. It's also important to note that a lot of this information was coming out against David's will, and Jeff was just exposing him. Marwick and Boyd mentioned that people tend to present themselves in a fixed, singular, and self-conscious way, which is what David Dobrik was doing for a long time, and once the details of this case got out, it became very hard for him to continue posting on his platform. Ultimately, once David Dobrik's perceived audience found out who he really was, it became really difficult for him to maintain his platform with his perceived audience. So basically, Jeff is suing David because David has actually taken no full responsibility and has not apologized for the accident whatsoever, and basically said that Jeff was an employee and he chose to do it, so that none of it's David's fault. So basically, the lawsuit is still in the works. It hasn't been settled because David Dobrik and his team of lawyers keep putting it off, but it will be settled soon, and Jeff will most likely win because Dobrik has no real evidence. So finally, I think David Dobrik should be canceled because his manipulating and shaming tactics of members that he calls his friends, his involvement of a sexual assault case with underage girls, and his outright assault of one of his so-called friends or Vlog Squad members, and his lack of empathy and his lack of ability to take responsibility.